Okay, hey people. First off, I just wanted to say welcome and thank everybody for being here. So I did notice that there's something that people do at the beginning of their live streams, which is play some music. So I have a song that I think that would get y'all in the mood to hear this information while we wait on my counterpart, and that would be another Southern sweetheart that you all know and love. And so with that, I guess we'll get started. You guys read the title, so be ready for some information. Okay, so I am trying to figure out how to put music in here, but oh well. I guess I will figure it out next time. So anyway, the point for today is discussing maintaining femininity. It's all wonderful and fine once you begin to still no sound. Can y'all hear me now? You- Okay. Can anybody hear me now? Can y'all hear me? Hmm. Okay. So see, this is what I need some help with. You know, the technical side of the computer stuff. Anyway, so what I thought that we would talk about first of all is once you get to the point where you have reached femininity, there is a lot of work that goes into maintaining it. So I haven't heard anybody talk about that part yet. So I thought that's what we would discuss today. Um, the counterpart that we're waiting on, KOKaine Kellz, she talks about femininity on her channel as well. So we're just gonna wait until she gets here. But until then, um, I guess I wanted to talk about lifestyle versus a role in a relationship. So, in terms of femininity, the way I like to think about it is a lifestyle. It's something that you live daily, whether you're single or in a relationship. So, therefore, it's not only relegated to being the role of a relationship. So, I have a question. How about you guys put a one in the chat if you've experienced me as feminine? Oh, welcome, Sister George. And hey, Kenny, glad you can make it. Oh, and hey, Auntie Wonder, welcome, Water Sniper. I'm glad that you came in too. Well, finally, we're getting some answers. Thank you. Anybody else? Y'all didn't? Okay, well, this is the reason. So, first of all, we're on YouTube, okay? And in my real life, that is exactly what I do. It has more to do with what I'm willing to do, certain boundaries I may have, versus other things that I am not willing to do. Okay, so I'm going to give y'all some time to, say hi to everybody. Well, if the question was if you guys had experienced me as being feminine, maybe, maybe not. Hi, SW1. Glad you can come in. But I see everybody is getting acquainted. So I'm letting y'all finish say hello, and then we'll move on with the topic. So the reason why it's important for it to be different than just a role in a relationship is because then what that means is when people are not looking, then you go back to being masculine. So my take on this, I have been called things before. I've been called all of those names, and we won't revisit those here. We won't. Um, I didn't really care because it came from a place of okay. Because I viewed it as coming from a place of a person trying to control me. I don't go around telling people that they have to behave the same way I do. That's why the ticker tape at the bottom is saying if you find it helpful. This is not something that I went around telling people that they needed to be a part of. I've also seen a lot of people who, want to be the only person who ever thought about femininity when, you know, people that say some of the same things as them, it doesn't necessarily mean a recycled talking point so much as maybe, if it was a standard of life in the past, maybe you're not the only one who had somebody teaching them that. Because it sounds like social graces. So, it's not something that you can own. Just wanted to put that out there. Yes, it's being petty. And I'm not sorry. So anyway, there are times where you do have to say something back. You do have to clap back. You do have to defend yourself because otherwise, you know, the femininity isn't going to be worth anything going forward. So I'm going to be taking questions in a second. But so I just wanted to make sure that makes sense why it's not just a role in a relationship. A lot of men have had problems saying that femininity at times seems fake. Well, that's pretty much what they mean. If it's only to get attention from someone, if it only happens when you're in the presence of somebody, think about it as if, teenagers, when the adults are around, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Then when there's no chaperone, people just kind of get out of hand. That's how they're looking at femininity based on some of the things that a lot of people have been, saying and doing. Now, what I would like to bring to you guys' attention is that this is social media. So this is not always or a complete representation of people's entire lives. And you see things that are here that are trapped in a bubble, but it does have some use in terms of determining what it would be like to be around this person in real life. I'm going to just go ahead and answer some of you guys' questions and comments because I see that you guys have something to say. So first of all, I just want to say to Auntie Wanda, thank you so much. I try. It takes work and effort, and we're going to talk about what all goes into, um, you know, being able to evoke these compliments from you guys. Y'all really know how to lift my spirits. Thanks, everybody. Welcome new people coming into the chat. Let's see. You almost missed this. Well, you know what? I'm glad you made it in. Okay. And so therefore, I think you should hit the bell and there you won't miss another one. Okay, so then you won't be all upset about missing a live. Okay, so water sniper. All right, so what you got? What's your minor problem? Because nothing can ever just be okay with you. All right, Sister George has a great question. What would qualify as stepping outside of your femininity, in my opinion? Well, I don't really think it's so much as stepping out of it as not having it and letting the mask fall off. Because see, a lot of men have said, and to be honest, I just want to put this out here. I don't have a problem with men speaking on femininity, and the reason is because you know what you believe it to look like. You know what it's supposed to be in order to match the job description for being in your life. So you can. What you can't do is apply it as a broad statement to everybody around you. Okay. So stepping out of your okay, hold on one second. So stepping outside of your femininity, in my personal opinion, is not necessarily possible. It's either you have it and it's in you, or you don't. And while you're working on improving it and spending more time in the lifestyle of being feminine, then some of those other behaviors will shed and you'll notice a change. But once you get into it, it is in you. It's how you live. It's how you present yourself to everyone. Even your clapbacks are going to be, feminine. And what that means is the things that you get upset about. What would be something that angers a woman who's feminine? Well, for instance, when someone is trying to force you into a masculine role, that irritates me, and I immediately have to be away from there. So does that answer, Sister George? The ones. Okay. You know what, Water Sniper? I mean, but it's meaningful. Okay, each one of those words were carefully chosen and strung together to create a specific picture in mind. You don't type it all anyway. So, it's all right. You'll be okay, I promise. Your fingers are not gonna fall off. There's no trolling in my chat, okay? So make him stop. All right. So the next question is, oof, okay, I gotta make sure I don't click off anything. Sister, I mean, not Sister George. Auntie Wanda, I could never imagine that. I've seen nothing but femininity out of you. Even when you were on a panel and everybody was acting up, it's like, it still was, you were so unbothered. That to me was still pretty feminine. All right. So next subject would be regarding, things that most people believe just automatically indicate femininity and why that's not true. Well, for one, most people, when they say femininity, they're thinking about cooking and cleaning and, saying yes, ma'am, and I mean, yes, sir, no, sir, to a guy, right? That can still be masculine. Have you seen a woman ever cook in a masculine fashion? You know what that looks like? There's a lot of, not taking care of yourself and the family that you're cooking for while doing it. So this would be just throwing anything together. It would be a meal where you feel like love was not one of the ingredients. If that is an explanation. I've seen it before, and this is another reason why I've heard men that say femininity can be fake. Is because you can do certain things, but then once you're finished with those tasks, there's the belief that, okay, now I get to rest. It's fine, whatever, right? Puts the wrong comment. Well, which comment would you like for me to put up there? How about that one? Okay. Also, cleaning. How about cleaning can be masculine as well? If you got an attitude while you're doing it, not making sure that everything has detail and decor, it's supposed to make people feel warm when they come into your house. They're supposed to be able to tell that a woman lives here. If you've seen the difference between a family home and a bachelor pad, that's kind of what cleaning is supposed to be like for a woman who's feminine. Okay. Any other comments before we move on? Let's see. Oh, yes, this is true. Soft spoken does not always equate femininity. You can have someone that is soft spoken, someone who's quiet, someone who's introverted, but they either lash out at inappropriate times or even what they're saying and what they're asking for is not very feminine. This is something that is the opposite of what we experience masculinity to be. So the two, those two are supposed to be able to exist in the same environment cohesively. If you'll know that if you're a masculine man, when you have a feminine woman, there won't be a whole lot of stress and tension. It'll feel like completion instead of competition. Okay, let's make sure there are no more questions before we move forward. Oh, this is a good one. So we hear a lot of questions regarding if this is feminine. Makeup, extensions, you know, how many people feel like that can still be made to be feminine? Let's put a one in the chat if you believe that that's possible. And I'll wait for a second. Okay, dang, Christopher. Hold on one second. I'll do your comment next. But I knew that was gonna come up, just so you know. You know what? I'm gonna stop doing the one in the chat stuff because apparently it's a delay between StreamYard and the chat. So anyway, the point is, yes, it can be. Makeup is meant as an accessory. It's an enhancement. There are times throughout the year, throughout the month, throughout the week, right, where you're gonna need a little bit of enhancement. This is due to life. Life happens, right? So therefore, there are certain types of makeup that are just made to keep you at the same baseline. That would be foundation. So everything above that, it could be used for special occasions. I would not recommend it every single day because then, you have to make sure that you take care of your skin and it doesn't cause more problems that you now have to cover up. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's an accessory. And if you take care of your skin the way you should, drinking water and making sure to take it all off every day, not using ingredients or products that are very stringent, then it can still allow you to look feminine. I mean, I don't get why that's even a question because I haven't seen men up until recent, decades wearing makeup. So the makeup aisle has usually been completely for women. So just saying. In terms of extensions, well, it's another thing that I believe, if done tastefully, just like SW1 said, it's not supposed to be well, you know what? In the past, they used to talk about like certain colors, red lipstick or having huge, big hair when the time does not call for it. Anything that is out of line with the event or the day's activities. It means that you're trying too hard. Like, heels at a barbecue, at a backyard cookout. It's trying too much, you know? So therefore, I'm sorry, you guys. When I stop, that means I'm reading the chat. Okay, so the point for that is making sure you match the day's events and the activities. Hair extensions is an accessory. You need to be able to have it taken out and still feel graceful and still want to be seen around people. If you get to a point where you cannot be seen without it, and this goes for makeup as well, at that moment, it is now an addiction and you should probably seek some help. But other than that, I think it can still be feminine. And there's a little bit of tongue in cheek involved in that. Okay, welcome, O'Shea Lonix. Thank you for stopping by. Yes, it is the first time here, and I'm glad that you could make it. And I'm making sure that I don't miss any questions. Oh, so cursing people out. Let me go back to that comment. Y'all are having too much fun with this reunion. Brought to you by me. Thank you very much. And of course, special helper. Where did it go? Anyway, there's a comment that said, "Is cursing people out feminine?" Well, it depends. There are certain, yeah, here we go. There are certain curse words that I feel don't necessarily add to, bring you into the realm of masculinity. The harsh ones, the ones that begin with the hard consonants, those you should probably stay away from. Now, it does not help. It does not make you feminine to curse someone out, but some curse words are a little bit more gentle than others, and they don't necessarily push you into looking like a man. There are times where you do have to express to someone and put emphasis on the sentence of that they are crossing a boundary in your life and this will not be tolerated. And some people respond to curse words. So I would say not to make it a habit. How about that? um See, all of the on the Streamlabs is like late with the comments. Well, thank you. I try. Right? There's work that goes into this. Okay. So next part of the subject would be what type of man responds to this, right? So this is the thing. Each man has their own personality. They have their own requirements. Whatever their vision, their purpose is going to require different skills and abilities from each woman. So therefore, when you think about femininity as a lifestyle, it is not something that is designed to make you a monolith. You still need to have a specific personality because you're going to have to be entertaining and interesting, right? In order to be able to be something that can bring joy at times. It doesn't mean you have to be all goofy and silly like I can be sometimes. But what it does mean is you can't always, be so serious and stoic all of the time. To be honest with you, stoicism is not necessarily one of our main qualities. It's usually better suited to come from the man, the more masculine of the couple. Also, this is not to say that you won't ever have to do some things that are not considered to be feminine, and that would be very far and few in between when you're pinch hitting for the special someone. So, what man responds to these things, right? Well, it depends. There's different categories of men. So, I noticed that guys on YouTube recently have been, separating and adding into these groups and sectors amongst themselves. And so if you've seen and you know the titles, I'm not going to rehash them. I'm not going to define them. You can ask them specifically themselves. But there is definitely going to be a female counterpart. What? Okay, hold on 1 second, guys. Okay, guys, sorry about that for 1 second. I had you guys on mute while I try to figure out how to get the link because I don't know if it's not working or not, but that's what they told me was the link. So anyway, while I find a way to add Kellz to the stream, then I will go ahead and answer some more questions before we get to the next topic. Okay. So we were talking about curse words and also what man responds to it. So yeah, that's the thing. You're gonna find the feminine version of what it is that they're doing. And certain specific things you'll need to do in case of emergency or as delegated. That would be my opinion. Hey Gab, welcome. You know what? I like that name. I think that I'm gonna put that as the ticker tape at some point during this. So yeah, my age is showing. I'm trying to figure out how to work all of this computer stuff while I'm talking. I would rather just be the one talking and not having to do all of this. Okay. Making sure I didn't miss any more comments. Hey, this is a good one. Some of the stuff that we call feminine and or masculine is neither. Some of it is just dysfunctional. Well, the behaviors in and of themselves are just what we do to survive or either to entertain ourselves and interact with one another, right? We have assigned the label of feminine or masculine based on, in the past, it was what is naturally part of our abilities, what's within our scope of practice, right? And so we've assigned those traits and we're used to seeing them out of certain gender titles. It's not necessarily a hard line stance, but what it is I like to think of femininity as a way to evoke protection and admiration from the stronger of the two genders. And then masculine would be the opposite of that, evoking respect and I don't want to say that word because I don't want people to come over here in droves. It I'm not gonna say obedience, but respect and appreciation in the other direction. So anyway, good point, and that's my view. Um, so hopefully they were able to work things out. But if you have to curse somebody out and you have set it to music, I kind of feel like it might just possibly be over at that moment. Okay, last one before the next subject. Some of these traits depend on zodiac sign. As a Capricorn, I'm a natural leader and very resourceful, while at the same time holding on to my femininity. Well, a lot of Capricorns that I meet that are women Capricorns, they are in fact very devices not good. Well, welcome. It is about time. Hold on one second. So, how are you? Okay, so we'll wait until Kellz gets her microphone together. But yeah, one of the things that I've learned about Capricorns is that um, they are very concerned with propriety. And so, with that being said, as a woman, you're supposed to behave with the behaviors that we have all assigned to women. So, therefore, they're not going to have a whole lot of tolerance for things that are, a woman doing things that are considered to be masculine. Okay, there's another
Hey,
question. Hey, Kellz, well, welcome.
how are
You had
you?
to be, I'm fine. You had to be
Yes.
fashionably late. I'm with it. I get it.
Well, I was kind of waiting on the link, and then I was listening in the background,
Right.
or in
Well,
the clouds,
I
but
just have to troll you a second while you get up here. But I don't know what happened with it. I sent the link in, so I guess it didn't work or whatever. So we just do it this way.
okay, all right. Well, shout out to the chat. Thank you so much, Topaz, for allowing me on your panel. I really
Oh, you're very
appreciate that.
welcome. You are
So,
very welcome.
all right. So, what all have we discussed since I'm fashionably late?
Well, what I've discussed so far is whether femininity is considered to be a lifestyle or if it's a role that you play in relationships. And so my view was it should be a lifestyle, depending on what irrespective to whether you're in a relationship or not. It should just be something that you're living. So what do you believe?
I actually believe that it's that femininity is an energy.
Hmm.
So it is something that is obviously inside of you that you rely on in your natural state, if that makes any sense. So, for example, men would rest in their masculine energy. So they
Yeah.
would be the logical ones. We would be, in contrast, the emotional ones, the nurturing kind. All of those things are energies that we ignite within ourselves.
Right.
And we're born with both masculine and feminine energy, right? So we have the ability to use in certain situations our masculine energy. So for me, I focus on actually resting in my femininity. Sorry, my daughter was talking in the background. um so with that being said, as women, femininity is our greatest power. And the reason I say that is because obviously men in their natural state, they're masculine. So
Hmm.
they need that femininity to recharge because we bring nurturing, we bring caring, and all the mushy stuff, right? That they don't
Hmm.
bring. So they need
Right.
that as a battery, and that allows them to go out and hunt and provide and protect. And I know I took the long way around your question, but in so many words, I don't think it's either. I think femininity and masculinity is energy because we can ignite either one depending on the situation.
Right. Well, it wasn't necessarily so long way around because, as we know, I could be long winded. So, I wouldn't notice. But what I'm going to say is that you are absolutely right. It sounds like we kind of agree, but just said it in different ways. And if we think about it, nurturing is, the part of that helps us to be able to nurture is having an emotional state, having a connection, being able to connect to people and feel what it is that they might need or be willing to provide something that they might need. And that includes our masculine counterparts, right? If they're going out to hunt, they're going to need to come back to rest and recharge. And that's what we would represent, like you just mentioned, so that they can be ready to do it all over again the next day. Now, technically today, guys aren't hunting and in terms of like with weapons and all of this and gathering food. It's not dire straits, but they are hunting for other things. They're hunting for resources, for opportunities, for a place to raise and provide for their family. So they are still hunting for things, but you know, it's just not, it doesn't look the same, but it works under the same process. So I definitely agree with your position. So the other thing that we discussed was behaviors that we happen to know, that we happen to associate with either being feminine or masculine and how they could actually be done in the opposite energy. So, for instance, have you ever seen a woman cooking in a masculine fashion?
No, because in my mind, cooking is a part of being feminine. Now, it
Right,
could go either way in terms of the man cooking or the woman cooking, because again, we both have feminine and masculine energy. So when I think of cooking, I think of a woman serving her family, right?
right,
So
right,
in that aspect, that kind of goes under the nurturing category. So I would I can't say that I have seen uh you know the question that you ask in terms of being feminine, I'm sorry, masculine cooking. But I will say that in my mind, cooking is definitely um, a feminine trait because of the activity and you're serving your family.
Well, I was kind of being a little bit of a jerk, just being kind of facetious a little bit. But what I mean by that is just because you're cooking doesn't necessarily mean that you're living in your feminine energy. And so the example that I used was just kind of like, if you ever ate a meal from prepared by somebody and you felt like there was no love involved with it, you felt like it was just kind of thrown together, that they weren't actually caring about the family when they put it together, things like that. But just basically to prove a point, a little tongue in cheek, not necessarily, you know, literal.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. More so, my answer was for the audience so that they
Hmm.
would be able to understand visually where I was coming from, and then
Right.
give them an example on why. So yeah, I definitely get it.
Right. And I wanted to highlight SW1's comment. The reason is because a lot of the top chefs are men because they're using it as a career and to climb a ladder and to own a business, uh, run a restaurant. All of those things, you're going to have to be willing to do some masculine things. And the reason I say that is because what happens is when there's a competition, you do have to protect your interest if you win. So once you get the restaurant, you have to be able and willing to protect and maintain that. And that's something that we normally create and the men protect. It's just, how nature designed, right? Or either how it was shaped after we got older.
That's
Okay.
absolutely true. I mean, when you talk about cooking, you think of creation, right? So
Right.
from that aspect, that is a feminine trait to be able to create, because that means that your mind is free and you are actually um creating using your artistic ability. And again,
Right.
that does not mean that he is that he carries a whatever. It
Right.
just means
Yeah.
that
I wouldn't call him feminine just because he can cook.
right, right. And that's why I think sometimes we have to be careful when we use those words towards the opposite sex, because again, we carry both of those energies. It's just a matter of which one we use. And if you kind of think about it, it kind of goes along the lines of like using your left brain or using your right brain. So you
Right.
use masculine or you use your feminine side.
Right. And, we mentioned earlier that you aren't going to just be completely 100% one or the other, because there are going to be times where you need to tap into the other side. We're born with both. We nurture one, kind of like either if you're left-handed or right-handed, right? There's one, you can do a lot of things with both hands, but one is always going to be better at it because it's more practiced. So that's what I kind of have in mind, is like, if you notice like the picture of the yin and yang symbol, there's that one little dot of the other side. That's kind of that's what I use to visualize it, meaning it's going to be the one that's more prominent, the one that's more practiced. You could do the others, but you can't sustain it for a long time without some type of unnecessary damage. That's it. That's
You
kind of what I was relating that to.
you are absolutely right. I mean, when I kind of just to kind of add to what you were saying, I think that anytime it compromises who you are at your core, then that means that it's not for you, and that applies really to anything. But for the sake of this conversation, I think that again, when a female is utilizing her masculine energy, she's not in her normal state, so she can do it, but it's a stretch because that's not who she naturally is. Um,
Right.
and you can only do it for so long.
Right. And I'm just happy that the chat kind of understands where I'm coming from, is because it sounds like you guys agree with me. I've heard a lot of people who that's all they require is cooking and cleaning, and they feel like that's just the totality of femininity, that and carrying babies. And then when they get a woman who does those three things, but they still feel like something is missing, that's why. We have a lot of men who feel like some women are faking it because they're being told that those are the only three things that matter. That if you do those, you're feminine. If you don't, then you're not. You have a lot of men that are attacked for being able to cook for themselves. What do you expect him to do when he is not, when he doesn't have a woman that's in his life completely to cook every day? So you expect them to starve? That's, some of these things we just kind of need to be adults and mature, and we need to grow up in the things that we believe and what we look for. So that would be my opinion. The last thing that you missed, KOKaine Kellz, was talking about the
Late like a
male.
mug. What? No.
Yeah, and we all, you know what? I was late too, so it's just it's part of life, right? So the last thing that you missed, and you'll be all caught up, would be which men respond to it. And so I kind of look at that as a trick question that I was wondering if anybody would understand. And so what would be your response? Because I began to talk about the fact that if we just look at YouTube as an example, right? We have men and they've kind of separated themselves by labels, and we're not going to go into the definitions of that or whatever. You go to those sectors and you ask them. But my answer to it was every man's going to respond to it, but what it looks like specific and individually is going to be a feminine version of what their purpose and what their identity is. So how do you feel about that statement?
Okay. So you're saying, you're asking what type of men respond to femininity?
Yeah, on purpose. I'm asking that on purpose.
Okay. Okay. No, I was just making sure that I understood your question. Um, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna say all because I'm telling you, I think if we really understood as women how powerful our femininity is, it does not matter if you are with a Pookie and Ray Ray or
Right.
if you are with an educated lame or whomever, you would be a magnet because that is the power of femininity and that's the energy that you're giving off.
Right. And if you attract a man, well, when and if you attract a man using your femininity, the only thing that he might tweak would be individual specific things to him. It's not going to be an overhaul, which means your interpersonal interactions would go a lot more smoothly. Things like that. It would solve a lot of problems. So it is powerful for the men, but also for us as well, which is why I recommend that we do it even when we're single. Just, live in that energy. It's where we rest. It's how we feel relaxed and we're not stressed. And that helps with health and beauty as well. You stay looking younger when you're able to be able to stay in the energy that is meant for you.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to keep it PG. So I'm just going to say, one second, one second. Okay. Sorry about that. Femininity is unique to who you are, right? So my
Hmm.
femininity is going to be different than yours, right? But
Right.
all in all, it has its core attributes. So I can't model the flavor of my femininity after you and vice versa.
Right.
So, and that again is a lot is what makes us so powerful as women and makes femininity powerful. And it also is the a way that you can tell that differentiates between a woman to woman to determine if she's right for that particular man.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what I was getting at with my answer. And so I just wanted to make sure that I covered that part of the topic. In terms of anything that you feel like we haven't discussed before we move forward, because I know you have some, your channel is based around femininity as well. And so if you wanted to talk a little bit about your channel and also your view of femininity, the way you approach it with your content.
Yeah, we're gonna bypass my channel right now because
Okay.
it's taking a hiatus. But
Well, we have to. We all got to do it.
yeah. I'm just kind of trying to determine when I'm going to be consistent with that. But as far as femininity, it is something that I work on every single day because we don't live in a society that accepts femininity to a certain extent. So
Right.
you
And
really
that's
have
actually the
to.
point for this stream.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you really have to work on that. And it's not a matter of being fake. It's just a matter of understanding who you are and looking within yourself to be
Mm-hmm.
authentic, your most authentic self. So, femininity is not really about how tight a skirt is or the color of your lipstick. It is actually energy that is expressed through openness and being
Right.
authentic.
Right. And so I think that kind of answers this question by Silks BB, is how is cleaning house feminine? Um, I would say that it's more associated with us because we would be the ones that would be in charge of the home, and the men would be in charge of all things outside of the home. But like I mentioned earlier, if I can't have a man in the house and he's just gonna leave it a mess, or either make a mess and just sit there until I, take care of it. That's just, he's going to need to know how to do it. So certain chores, masculine and feminine, what I'm going to say yes, because there are certain chores that I just don't want to do. I don't want to touch it. Okay. I don't want to be anywhere near it. Anything that has to do with dust or disgustingness or grime or any of that, I don't want to. So I'm going to assign that to the masculine person. They're going to handle all of that. What do you think, Kellz?
I agree. I agree. One of the things that I think is a misconception about femininity as it relates to women is that we are scary people, meaning we're just
Hmm.
over in a corner just shaking.
And that's
And
why we ask for protection. That's the whole
right,
point. That our fear and anxiety, our sadness, our unhappiness, our state of not being at ease, necessitates all of the things that you come with.
you're absolutely right. But here's what I want to touch on though. Um, there are certain phenotypes of certain, I'm sorry, there are certain types of, I can't even get it out. There are phenotypes that we should really kind of look at as it relates to types of femininity, right? So take for instance, what is that movie? Because I don't watch Black Panther. So you know
Hmm.
how the chicks were in there with the spears and they were like guarding the guy, but
Hmm.
they were still submitting to
Right.
the men in the movie. Okay, so that particular phenotype is called a feminine warrior, right?
Right.
So it is someone obviously like the women in that movie um, that is that also protects, right? So you can still be feminine. It's just what phenotype are you? And a
Right.
lot of times you utilize
Like a
or you
subset.
yes, yes. So you tap into certain phenotypes of femininity based on the situation. So for example, if you have a single mother, she's not going to be the little prissy, shy, girly type, because she has to protect her child because it's just her. There's no man around. So that's when you fall into the category of feminine warrior,
Right.
because there's no protection around.
Right.
And then you have your I can't think of pure feminine is what it's called. Pure feminine is the woman who has protection around her, the woman who has, um, who really all she has to worry about is what's inside the house. And she
Right.
is cooking and she's cleaning and she's washing clothes and whatever else. Right. And she is
Right.
her sole um, responsibility is to take care of the kids and her man. That's
Right.
when you go into the pure femininity. And so that I think that those are the two main ones, but I think there are like seven of them.
Well,
Um,
it looks like you've done research, and my research is not in this category. So for me, it's a little bit more surface level, and it's regarding our mental status, our emotional states, and actions and interpersonal, um, you know, events and whatnot overall as a whole. And this is part of it. So I am glad that you're able to bring more of the in-depth information on this topic to the discussion. And so, with that being said, I think this speaks to earlier when I was saying that your particular personality, I guess, where you are in your feminine journey, and what man for what man does that fit the job description? So, if you have a man that is capable of, maintaining a woman who does not have to leave the home at all, who can be in her pure femininity, then that would be your role. Now, can you do that or not? And on other panels, I've talked to men about what do women bring to the table. Well, see, the thing that they're going to be doing, see, when you match up with a man, right? He's asking a question. Will you stay with me? Can you do this job? And you're supposed to give it some real thought and say whether you can or not for this man. And so that's why you are the one that responds and says yes or no. You're asked and then you answer. And so this kind of, in my opinion, says whether you're talking about whether or not they should say yes or no, and to what man should they say yes or no. Each one of the men in their different sectors and their own personal identity, they're going to have a job description for the feminine counterpart in their life. If you can do it, you would say yes. If you cannot, you would say no.
that's absolutely correct. In
And
everything
that's
that you
without
said,
researching it.
I mean, um, as it relates to, YouTube and these panels and everything, I think the question has been asked on several occasions, is at least from my observation, what do you bring to the table? You know,
Right.
and what I have found is, and this is just my observation, um, some women who have been married, who have experienced solid experience in relationships, can answer that question.
Right.
And then the other women who, um there are some women who tend to kind of take offense to it. And and my thing is, I respect both sides, right? Because some women
Hmm.
say, if you're not my man, or if you're not trying to um be in a relationship with me, then why would you ask me that question?
Right.
But other women say, okay, I bring this, and what else? You know, so I mean, definitely to kind of add to what you were saying. I mean, you're on the money, in my opinion. And it just it does matter what the man is looking for, because you may not have all of the qualities that he's actually looking for, and that's okay. And that's what I
Right.
tell people. It's not about, it is about beauty. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, it
You're gonna need a little
really,
more.
yeah, you going
Just a
yes,
little more.
absolutely, absolutely. And so, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that one.
Well, and also this is the thing is that it does a disservice to both the man and the woman if you say yes to something that you cannot do. There's no shame in being honest. If you can't, go ahead and say that up front. Now, we do have some people that say no because they don't want to, or because it doesn't come from the thing that they want. more so than what they need or than what they can handle. And I think that that has to do with maturity level, what all you've experienced before you're asked this question and are required to give an answer. And so with that being said, that's something that you're going to have to get into in, individual in your own personal journey. But those are the things that we normally learn as we go forward. We learn in our feminine journey and also with relationships and interpersonal skills. Those are the things that we work towards finding the answer for.
You're
Okay.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Were you gonna say something?
Well, I
Yes.
was going to talk about getting back to the entire topic. We did a whole hour of intro, and so the actual topic is maintaining the femininity. So for the men that are here, and I notice it seems pretty equal, men and women. So for the men that are here, I'm hoping that you would be able to understand what it is that you need to provide, what you need to do in order to help and assist the woman in maintaining her femininity. Once she is feminine, there's going to be some assistance. Feminine, by definition, you're not going to have everything. You're going to need at some point. You're going to need to receive something at some point. So, what it is that when you get what you need out of the woman, what do you need to do? What do you need to expect? Talking about the cost benefit analysis, um, you know, depending on your personal requirements, what it is that you feel like a woman should bring to the table, how do you help her maintain that? Because it's ongoing. It's not something that once you get it, it just stops. You're going to need to add to it and help, help it stay in the same condition. And then for the women, what to expect, what parts of your life are going to have to go, what parts of your life are going to be different, what's going to be changed, and why certain things that we'll talk about today, such as uh, dress code, behavior, um, things that I believe that in terms of us being human, we can't forget that. We have to add in the fact that we are evolved, or so we like to call ourselves. So I think that just because something is natural or it was done in the past doesn't necessarily mean that it's appropriate for now. We should be doing things that set us apart from other species. So that's going to have some things that's going to be part of the things that I talk about in terms of what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like from the women. So, anything that you wanted to add?
No, I think you covered just about just about everything. You're doing a hell of a job. So,
Well, thanks.
you know, I'm just going to allow you to lead me, girl.
Well, this is why I'm so glad that you came through for the topic. And so that's what the comments that I'm placing on the screen right now from Yusuf Wati. Thank you so much for coming in. And so yes, those are foundational. Once you get that foundation, any foundation, anything, we have to keep up. Everything has insurance or a maintenance schedule. And since the men are here, I'm glad I'm going to use one of you guys' favorite metaphors, right? Cars, houses, right? Those have insurance because it gets expensive, right? But unfortunately, maintaining a woman, a human being, there's no insurance for it outside of physical insurance like medical insurance and all that, life insurance. You need to have those, okay? And then also a maintenance schedule. So I thought we would talk about some of the things that would go into the maintenance schedule of women. Why, the if you ever ask men what is one of their biggest complaints, well, women take too long to get ready. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that we're doing in there. Now, are you coming in to help? Probably not. So then you need to understand that we do these things because it contributes to the beauty. And they're going to cost what? Money. So if you are maintaining a woman, it's going to cost some money to get some of the necessary tools to be able to comply with the upkeep. And yes, there is a schedule. So anything you have to add to that?
I think that when we talk about maintenance, just like a car, every 3 to 5,000 miles, depending on the type of car that you have. I mean,
Yes.
it's also, in my mind, a temperature check as well. You know, um,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, you know, what am what am I bringing to support this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and what is being received.
Right.
And is that hitting my bank account? Meaning, when I say bank account, I'm talking about depositing love,
Yep.
depositing certain love languages that you respond to. And I'm not going to go any further than that. But again, when we talk about a maintenance check, you think about um, everything that has occurred, and am I being satisfied? At
Right.
what it is that you're looking for in your mate, because every relationship is different, right? So
Right.
everybody's needs are different, and why you are with your mate and vice versa. So,
Right.
um, but you definitely should make sure that those spark plugs are working,
Right.
and that the oil is changed,
And that's,
so
I said money because it was the easiest, it's the most tangible, but everything else, what about the intangibles? So you are going to have a bank account in terms of love, affection, gratitude, all of the things that we can't quantify, but you know it when you feel it, the energy component.
that is correct. That is correct. Energy is so, 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 so important because it keeps you motivated, and it definitely serves as a battery. And, you know, people, depending on how long they've been together, you can sometimes get tired of each other. So it is good to
Right.
definitely have a maintenance check at all times, and
Right.
understand what your purpose is in that relationship. And also make sure that you are doing what you are supposed to do as your mate, as the mate or the companion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's get to the fun part. I like to think of this in terms of three things: physical, financial, and mental. And we could add in whether it's tangible or intangible later. So some topics that come up, I think that it would be fun and interesting to say whether or not they're feminine or not. So the first one is plastic surgery. What do you think? Feminine or not?
Oh Lord. Um mm. I think it's feminine.
Right. I
Yeah.
feel the same
Yeah, I'm
way.
sorry. I
But why
just
do
had to
you
think
say
about
that?
that.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
it's paying attention to detail in terms
Hmm.
of the aesthetics, right? So,
Right. It's
women,
caring about what he likes to see.
right. Absolutely. Yep.
Another thing is it's going outside to get help for something that you need that you're doing with him in mind. Or at least I hope you're doing it with him in mind. I don't
Right,
think
right.
that.
So it's an emotional type of activity because you are trying to please
Right.
someone, you know. Even if
Right.
it's yourself, it's still pleasing, so it still falls under the feminine category.
Right. And then there are women who take things out. It's not always about getting bigger, like people like to believe. We just like the plastic surgery of today is just a little different than the plastic surgery of the past. This is what everybody is choosing to focus on, I'm guessing, because they got tired of what was the most prevalent surgery in the past was, breast augmentation. So more men are now tired of that and are looking for something else, which is why we now have the surgery that is most prevalent to now. And I personally would not do it because I don't want to go under the knife. But there are women who are okay with that.
You talking about the booty?
Yeah. Have you seen what that surgery looks like though? I watched it on the Discovery Channel. Oh no. And that's what I mean. The breast lift and the breast augmentation, they have perfected that. But I can only imagine what it was like for the first group of women who had to go through that, because they felt they didn't feel attractive, and men like curves. They always say that. Now, how much of a curve do you need for that particular man? Well, that's going to be between you and him, right? But you know, that surgery, they split open the muscle, and then they put the silicone or whatever it is in between the how they split the muscle. Oh, it was just I couldn't. It makes me want to cry.
Well, I'm a little different. I I believe, um, see, I don't judge anybody, right? So,
Right,
um, eh, if that is what is going to um enhance what they already have and they have the money and whatever else, then do it. But just don't get Shaquita to do it
right,
in her grandmother's basement, And so, you know, there are professional people that know what they're doing that do it all the time.
right.
There are limits to it though. So, to each
Yeah,
their
see this?
own.
This is ridiculous. You see this on the screen?
Mm-mm.
See, Jonathan comes in here and he likes to start trouble. So I'm gonna put this up there while you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jonathan, he's trolling. But hey,
Yeah,
Jonathan, um, in terms of it from my standpoint, um, I would get plastic surgery. It just depends on what it is. Um,
right.
you know, that's
And
just kind
that's
of
me
my
being a
take on
big
it.
baby. That's me being scared of all things anesthesia, needles, doctors, and cold hospitals, white rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do my due diligence on the type of surgeon that I would choose, but um, I believe in doing what you want to do in life. So I'm kind of a free spirited person from that aspect. So if you want to, have that what is it, Buffy the Body or
Yeah,
whatever her name is, Booty, you
yeah,
know, then I guess I have to, look at you like that. That's fine.
right,
As long as you're doing it and it's safe to a certain extent. Everything has a risk, but at
right,
but at the same time, just make sure you can get the best that your money can buy, and not Shaquita in the basement.
right. Now, I'm definitely never gonna knock anybody else for doing what they feel is necessary for them. Now, I wouldn't recommend it, but if they already have that in their mind that they feel like this would make them feel better in life, then I would be supportive, But I'm never gonna tell somebody that they need to do something. Okay, now before you got here, I talked about my opinion of makeup and hair extensions. So for me, I feel like it can be feminine as long as it's done to enhance and you don't go overboard and it matches the event in question. Like, what are you doing for that
Yeah.
day?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. The only thing I don't like, I'm gonna just be honest, are those eye things. I really do not like those things. Eyelashes.
You're not even gonna call them lashes.
Windshield wipers is what I call them, and they're so damn long. But
Yeah,
I think that it's just ridiculous. But that's just my opinion. Again, personally, I would not get it. I've had hair all my life. So as far as the weave thing, everybody's tried it at least once. I've tried it at least once, and I ain't like it.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, teach their own, but that does not take away from your femininity. Now, here's what I will say on that though. Um, it depends too the type of man that you are trying to attract, right? And I know that, people say it starts with you and, you have to please yourself first and whatever else. But if you're in a relationship or you're married and these things have not been discussed prior to, and you come in with hair all the way down to your booty, then
hmm,
that's a discussion. So
right,
my thing is that just understand, who you're with, or if you're by yourself, then you know my my suggestion is just get it how you live in that aspect. It only changes when you are with someone else, if that's what you choose to do.
right. Okay. Sounds like we agree. Next one is what about dress code? Do you think that there's a dress code? Some things that you should never wear, some things you should always wear. Any boundaries, limitations?
Okay, so he, um, yeah, there should be some limitations. Definitely, especially if you understand that everything about you attracts certain type of people. So if you, um, have the low cut shirts and what have you, then you might attract the wrong type of person.
Right.
Now, the thing that I'm kind of thinking about is I have worn dresses that have been revealing, to a certain extent, and I still carried myself in a respectable manner. Now, the problem that I see with that now is it's confusing, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
you are dressed like you are, going to walk on a corner for a long time, but your conversation is not, right? So I think
Right.
everything has to be done within moderation, and it also has to be tasteful.
Right.
So, again, it just depends on the type of person you're trying to attract and who you are as a person. Because really, to be honest, you can be sexy in some sweatpants. You do
Yep.
not like, you know, there's this myth that you have to just show everything when you're on a panel and you turn your cam on and have low cut shirts and, actually, showing. Oh, I'm sorry, I went overboard. Okay, so anyway, I'm
No,
just
you didn't.
saying,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that, everything has to be done in moderation and you have to be respectful. And
Right.
that means that your garments have to be respectful as well.
Right. Well, I feel like people are expecting me to say, yes, you have to wear this, and no, you don't have to wear that. So I'm gonna disagree with what I've heard about how women should not wear pants, and that's the downfall of society, and blah blah blah, all of that, right? So, my actual answer to that is yes, it's a dress code, and it has to do with what you can pull off in terms of your personality. Certain clothes do attract certain types of people, certain types of individuals. So as long as you can handle what it brings, then go for it. There are women who feel their best and they feel their most feminine when they're illuminating their curves. Now, what I will say is what I've always been taught and growing up is only one part of your body needs to show at the same time. You're not going to have like a crop top and a mini skirt. You're not going to show stomach and legs and shoulders. You pick something, and basically the way you get dressed in the morning is you pick an area of you that you want to highlight for that day, and then that is the star of the show, and everything else is the supporting cast. It stops you from having too much gaudy jewelry, too much overkill, just looking real tacky. So that's the way I was taught to do it. And so if you're gonna have like a tube top on, then you do need to have something else, like something longer everywhere else. It's not that keeps it from looking like you're getting ready to walk down the street for a long time and request and handle requests from random strangers in cars.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that you definitely want to consider, when you are putting on, clothes and you're going to certain events and dressing for the occasion. That's something else to consider. Excuse me. And you are absolutely right when you're talking about your best attribute of that particular day, right?
Right,
And it goes even further when you are putting on makeup, if you do wear makeup. So your
right,
eyes don't want to be bright and your lips. You see what I'm saying? So it kind of
right,
just goes hand in hand with everything.
right. And so this is a comment that helps illuminate where I'm going with that as well. It's the feeling that you have inside of you, right? And then also being cute and classy. So there are times where it's called for when you're wearing a revealing dress or what have you. There's times where it's called for where you show off your curves. I mean, you don't want to go too far in terms of being what is called being frumpy. You don't want to be tacky and gaudy and over the top, and you don't want to be frumpy. Everything in moderation. So try to find a happy medium. So it's not a specific type of clothes for me. I feel like there is a way to make sweatpants cute. Trust me, I've been there because I always have to push the envelope. I can never just do normal stuff.
Well, that's a Scorpio, and so that's why
Right,
I have a hard time answering that question because you may see me in some sweatpants, one day, but then the next
right,
day I may just flip the script and put a suit on, so it
right,
just depends on how I'm feeling. And and it starts from the inside anyway.
right.
You definitely have to love yourself from the inside out and not vice versa.
Absolutely. And so it's gonna be how you like. To be honest with you, my clothing for the day, it matches my mood. So depending on what emotional state I'm feeling, it's still gonna be cute. Because I can't do a boring life, and I always have to be extra. And I don't know how to stop that, and I'm not even gonna try. It's too late, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Scorpios are extra. It's hard to deal with us.
right, and I'm not sorry because it's fun. It's not boring.
Yeah,
So
shout out to all the Scorpios in the chat. I do see Miss Vonda Harris, so shout out to her. Um,
absolutely, she's part of the
yeah, no,
gang.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I always have to rep my Scorpios. But shout out to everybody else as well.
Exactly. And so later on, if y'all want to, we can do coming up later. But if not, then we'll end shortly. So the next thing is what I believe in terms of behavior is that it's 7 levels is what I think about when I think of behavior in terms of being feminine.
Ooh,
So there is
Lord,
no.
7.
Yes, 7 of them.
Ooh,
It's not, but it's gonna be quick. I will go to tangent. So one is being neutral, meaning it doesn't add to femininity, it doesn't take away from it. Then there you have things that are condoned and tolerated. Condoned meaning it's one step above neutral. It's something that we allow. I mean, one step below neutral. It's something that we allow. And then there's tolerated. It's I guess if you just have to do it, I'll put up with it. If some other stuff are okay, is okay in life. There's encouraged and discouraged, meaning it's a good thing. We're gonna say yes, we're gonna support it, but we're not gonna force you to do it. And then discouraged would be the opposite. Mandatory and prohibited is the last one, meaning it's mandatory. You have to do this. And then there is prohibited, meaning you cannot do this. It is wrong. Do not. So that's going to be something that's individualized for each person, each woman's personality, each man that she's dealing with, things of this nature. So what do you think about that delineation?
oh wow. I mean, you have it laid out there. I mean, for me, I'm going to take it from when you are choosing a mate as a woman. Um,
Hmm.
as a woman, we definitely should have our deal breakers, right?
Right.
So it's an absolute no. If
Hmm.
whatever actions or words are spoken, if they hit that particular category, it's a no for me, right?
Right.
And the other category that I have is must-haves. So I
Hmm.
have a list of must-haves, not very long, but you know, um, they you have to have at least majority of those in that category, and then can live with, right? Because everybody
Right.
is not, we're not perfect, and so there are certain things that you can tolerate, and everybody's different. But I think that there should be some sort of list to help guide you during the mating process, or even just having a platonic relationship. You know, um,
Mhm.
I say all the time, I'm not really good with women, all women. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm just not. So, I am very particular about who I communicate with that. So I adhere to my list,
Right.
and I'm trying to work on it. The universe is not done with me, But I kid you not, like I do not like all women. I just don't.
Right.
And when it comes to and I'm speaking in platonic reference, but in terms of mating, I don't like all men either. So
Right.
again, the list that I have, some of the items apply to a platonic relationship.
Absolutely. Well, and to be honest with you, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thought process, and the reason for that is because we are the ones that know what we can handle. And for women particularly, there's no added benefit in having every woman that you've ever met in your life. It's, women are receivers, right? We need things. So if you have 7 women in a group that consider themselves as a package, and they have to be, you know, everywhere all of the time in terms of friendship, or either, feeling liked or whatever, it doesn't benefit us to like every woman that we come across, because we are maintainers, so at some point they're gonna have to find somebody to maintain them, and it's not gonna be me.
No, it's not going to be me either. Like I was telling you earlier, I believe in creating your own environment, your own community, so to speak. And when I found out that I had a choice whether or not to
Hmm.
have a person in my space, I started to exercise that. And I've probably been kicked out of the sisterhood so many times it's ridiculous, but I'm not the type of person to just go along to get along to a certain extent.
Right.
I will not insert my opinion unless it's asked, but I will remove myself from any situation that I feel is toxic for me. Because it is very important to maintain a level of energy that is, I'm sorry, a high vibration. And if it's not, then I just have to remove myself, and I really don't even give an explanation about it. And again, that is something that I need to work on, but
Right.
that's just how it is for now.
Right. And to go along to get along does not work out in our best interest. So I do think that that is something that earlier, when I don't know if you have gotten here or, yet or not, but there is the question of, is it masculine to clap back? Is it masculine to curse somebody out? That's the time where it's necessary, because at some point I get offended, and it's like, how dare you? If you think about it, like, all of these things are coming with social graces from the past. There used to be women who, if a man got a little too, what they said, they called it too fresh, that she would slap him. Well, yeah, I don't recommend that, but that's kind of the physical component to cursing someone out. Basically, don't ask that. You cross the boundary, and it needs to be a punishment for you. So now, in terms of having a whole bunch of women, and going along to get along, that doesn't work out for women. You do have to have certain standards, because if you just go along to get along, it identifies you as a person that will accept and tolerate anything. And so then when you get something that ends up in your destruction, it's because you didn't set actual boundaries. And we've always been told to set boundaries. We were told to try to get along with people, but there are boundaries, because how else is this person going to know that they stepped out of line? So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about this, but I'll, just
Right.
say that I agree, definitely with what you're saying. The only thing that I would add is a lot of times, people may see me in chats and feel like I agree with men a lot, and that may be true to a certain extent because I can understand where they're coming from during certain topics of discussion, right? And I'm also a daddy's girl,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother didn't really treat my dad right, you know? So for
Have
me,
that experience.
Yeah. So for me, I men have a soft spot in my heart. They just do. Because I
Mm-hmm.
understand that they are broken. I understand that they are damaged. I understand that they've been abused verbally. And I understand sometimes that they aren't even allowed to show their masculinity.
Right. It
And
seems like
so
they're punished for it, and they are being, prevented from
absolutely.
living freely.
Absolutely. So if it appears that I'm agreeing, I really am. Because
Mm-hmm.
some women that I feel are not operating in a manner that is suitable for a man to actually excel.
Right.
So,
And then what are we gonna get? What's gonna be the end result of that if we keep going? Are we gonna really like what it looks like?
absolutely, no, we're not. Um, and I do often wonder, the question about protection and so forth. And I'm not trying to change the topic of discussion or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's important for everybody to look at themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I spent 5 years in therapy to learn who I am. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
can speak so confidently, because I've had to do a lot of homework on myself. And I've had to do a lot of decomposing of what I had around me because it was so toxic.
Right.
So again, when I hear these men, I actually hear a lot of hurt coming from them. And no, I'm not talking about the men who just haul off and call people bees and whatever else. I'm just
Right.
talking about the men who are actually being honest on these panels and talking about how they feel. And then in turn, women treating them like they're robots, like they're not
And
supposed to have feelings.
and that usually what gets me called a pick me because I've seen it up front, some of the BFF that everyone is referring to. So I know that it doesn't just come out of nowhere. But I also know that sometimes behaviors that resemble that have been provoked, and sometimes it's the last resort. So while I don't blame every woman for engaging in BFF because some of them weren't taught, but once you know, you should want to contribute to, a more peaceful state of being, at least for our culture. I don't care what other cultures do, so don't come in my chat with that, because can we be the culture that sets a standard? Can we be the one that does something different that's helpful first? Do we always have to do what everybody else does? If we want to say black excellence, that means we can't settle for mediocrity. So that's my view on that.
That is absolutely true. Now, in terms of me hauling off and you know, uh, uh, disrespecting someone else or whatever, um, I have done that. The only way that I will do that is out of protection of my daughter or
Mm,
someone that is very, very close to me. I will ignite to Broke a Diva bankroll. That's
mm.
my um what is it called? My I can't even think of it right now.
The alter
Um
ego. Wait a minute. What
yes,
is his
yes,
name
my
again?
alter ego. That's what it is. To Broke a Diva bankroll will get in your ass real quick.
Oh,
But
wow.
but she does not come out
Right,
unless it's warrant, like unless you have to really get under my skin. Now, as far as the YouTube panels or whatever, like I don't really, I can't fight. I mean, I can't like argue with a ghost. Like I don't know you. So it really doesn't get under my skin like that.
right.
It's just only if someone's in my face.
Right. And then what do you expect to happen? Like I gotta survive to make it to another day. That's part of me, you know, caring about my family. I'm not just putting us in danger recklessly. And also I fight to make it back to them. I don't just leave them high and dry. So there was the question that I had on the screen earlier. Why is crying considered to be feminine? Well, because it's about the expression. Men, it's okay for them to be angry but not cry, and for women, it's vice versa. But both of those emotions, anger and sadness, they're considered to be the flip side of a coin. They're heads and tails, essentially. They both come from a state of feeling that something is right or wrong, being unhappy, having a like or dislike, and then that being unsettled, unrecognized, and then that's the resulting emotion that happens, and then your action is determined next. So for women, if you are seen, anger is seen as a masculine trait because it usually precedes like war or violence of some kind, while crying usually precedes someone coming over to comfort you. So women are supposed to want comfort while men are supposed to want or either be okay with war. So that's my answer to that question. What how do you feel about crying in terms of femininity? And before you do, listen, Six Figure Days, we not taking that L. We don't claim her. All
I
right.
don't even know who she is.
She is on Love and Hip Hop, and she is the one that is pregnant and engaged, or either married to Safari, the producer dude. Is he a whatever he does on?
The guy with the
Anyway,
big. Oh, okay, my fault.
well, yeah, exactly him, right? So she does the most all of the time. There was a time period where she was in a lesbian relationship too with the other chick who is now a baby mama for Joe Budden. It's a lot. We not taking her. She just
Yeah,
she just claims it.
that last name says we're not taking her. I mean, I don't even have to
Right.
know who she is, but if that
Right. It
last
just
name
sounds fake.
serves
It
me,
sounds like she lying already.
yeah, yeah,
That's
we're
how I
not
read it.
even. No, ma'am,
We not
six
taking
figure.
all these L's. It's always one. But until I see a birth certificate, the jury's still out on that. And even then, I'm like, who did you pay off to get this? But yeah, okay. So back to you, Kellz. What do you think about crime? Why is it seen as feminine?
I don't. Well, because it's emotional, right? So,
Right.
when you talk about energy, feminine and masculine energy. Feminine is emotional. So, the man has tapped into his feminine side, but I don't. You know, I think the only way in my mind that a man would cry is if he feels like he's in a safe space to let his guard down, to be able to be vulnerable. And that, again, to me, is what women provide. We provide that safe space for him to be able to, um, show his emotions in the way that will help to heal him. And for me, I've seen my father cry. My father actually taught me how to be feminine. I know that sounds
Mhm.
weird, but
It does.
he really did. And so, from that aspect, I've seen him cry. And I did not treat him any differently. He was still my father and he was still respected. And we just kept it moving. But
Yeah,
sometimes,
because it's like a masculine cry. There is a masculine cry. I've
yeah,
seen that before too. It's
yeah,
frustration. Like it has to be crying over something that's real, not just goofiness. It has to be something that is important, or frustration,
yeah,
things like
yeah.
that.
Like I've received one spanking in my life and it was from him. And
Right, me too.
the only person that cried was him after
Yeah,
he
well,
spanked me. So again, going back to what you're saying, it has to be, um, something very important, something that really, really hurt them, for them to even cry, and I
right,
think to me, I like Ralph Tresvant, right?
right.
Sensitivity, but
Yeah.
I like for a man to feel comfortable to be able to show his emotion.
And we can't turn them into robots either, because we're definitely not going to like that. So they're going to have to still stay connected to their emotions, because that's how they know what brings them peace. That's how they know what makes them happy. There was a time where I dated a guy who literally didn't know what would make him smile. It was like a trial and error thing. And it was, not a good relationship, but we didn't end on the worst of terms. But we have to let men stay and connect with their emotions, because that's what makes them human. We don't want killing machines. We don't want robots. That's going to be such, hard for them to handle too. They're not immortal. They're not Superman, and we have to be realistic. That's how we get to keep them for the next generation.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We have another Scorpio in the building. Miss
Yes, Miss
Naima.
Naima.
Woo, she's beautiful. Have you seen her? Okay,
Yes, I
so
have.
yeah, 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 she's beautiful. I visit her channel a lot, and she just has this humongous smile. She got a big
Yes.
old booty too. But
See, I'm gonna get this all right. Mine gonna come in. When is middle age spread getting here? That's what I need to know. I'm counting
man,
down.
you should have a little booty. You
It's a little something. It do a little. You know what I'm saying? But
okay, okay. It ain't clapping, but it's
no, it ain't clever. But it do a little something. It says hi. It's all right. You see it. But I'm saying, like, I need it to be. I don't feel like I'm almost 40. You know what I'm saying? I need to feel grown. But we'll
Yeah,
talk about it later.
I think Miss Naima will be clapping though. She has a beautiful physique, and I mean it's when people say no homo. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
saying she's
Yeah, I don't
beautiful.
even say that no more
So
because they'll be all right.
yeah, yeah, who cares? But I'm just saying she's a very beautiful woman. So shout out to her. And I forgot what your question was because I did all that talking.
Well, I think you answered it. We were talking about why is crying feminine, but like we said earlier, men still have to be able to release that, to let it out. So they're gonna have the ability to still cry. You
Oh,
know.
that's what I was gonna say. I hear a lot of women say, "Oh, that didn't bother you. You all
Right.
right."
Right.
We got to stop saying that. We got to
Right.
start believing these men when they say how they feel
Right.
because that is their truth. And here I am. I mean, I'm sorry. I know some women may hear this on the playback or they're in the chat and they're probably like, "Man, she be slurping for men." It's not that. It's again, you have to treat people how you want to be treated.
Right.
And if I was sitting there crying, I wouldn't want anybody to say, "You all right? Ain't nothing wrong
Exactly.
with you."
Because
You
that's
see
gonna
what
make
I'm
me punch
saying?
them. But see, it evokes when you tell me I'm all right. You are now evoking masculinity. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, everybody has, they should have feelings, and they
Right.
should respond to certain catastrophic things that happen in their life or whatever, or you might have hurt his feelings.
Right.
So again, it's important to understand that that he's not a robot,
Right.
you know.
You turn him into a robot, you can't complain when he does robotic things.
Mm, that's something right there. That is something. Hmm. Because he can just wheel his ass on out the door and go to Susie's house where Susie will
Right.
be able to have a dinner and ask him how he's feeling. And then
Right.
he will be called all kinds of, whatever. But when he was trying to let you know how he felt, you did not listen.
Right.
You thought you could put a quarter in him and or put some oil in him and he can just recharge. No, he wants you to comfort him.
Right. And then think about it. Like, if when you've seen men who leave relationships, they usually go only if that is what the new chick is offering and the old one didn't. And the
Yes.
reason for that is because it's life. It's something that helps them to live. So even though the whole community is like, I can't believe you, you're so wrong, they still go and they're unapologetic about it because for them, it was a form of survival. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it may look like, the person that they are with now, they don't look better than you. But again, when we get older, the physical attributes are good, but at the end of the day, it is really what's on the inside. And you will
Right,
see that if he's dating a beautiful chick and then you see him and he's dating an average looking chick. Well, it's not about looks.
hmm
She rubs his head at night. Both of
right,
them.
Right. And it's at night, just like this comment right now. It's at night. It's not throwing it in his face. It's not telling everybody. One thing that I hate is when during the breakup you hear the woman say all of the intimate secrets. Even if y'all are breaking up, even if you hate everything about the breakup or whatever, you giving all of those intimate secrets does not help the situation. It never ends well. It doesn't end well for you, and usually it ends well and better for him. So it's just something that, like, think of the community as a whole. Don't put that out there because we need them to be able to release that as necessary. You can't have a man that lives to a long life that's wound up all of the time. Stress kills you. So why would we, you know, when you see all these memes that say be his peace, and then women are like, but that's so hard. They need so much. Not really. Because all that other stuff that you're doing is something that probably other women told you to do. If you're doing this that we're talking about today, which I did get from my daddy, because I am also a daddy's girl, and I'm not sorry. So if you do this, then you won't have to do all of the extra because he'll be able to do that himself.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't understand Gab's comment. Just not in front of everyone. Well,
Crying,
what is that in context of?
a man
Um,
crying.
well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we have to be realistic with this. I don't think men walk around crying in open public forums. I think that, if they are in the see that again, I'm not a man, but I would only assume that if a man feels comfortable where he is to be able to let his guard down and not be this superman or superhero, and really show his feelings, it would be behind closed doors. So we have to assume that that it's not like that old man that died, the one that did that outburst, that scream. I think it was on Ayana or whatever her name is. He had that
Hmm.
real loud scream. He's
But
on
that was a
memes
lot
and
of stuff
everything.
built up.
No, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that
Yeah,
he's not going to be walking around doing that. He's going to be in the comfort of his own home, or wherever, in a safe place, to be able to release those feelings.
right, right.
Okay, so George Macon, shout out to George Macon. I get to call him out now. Um, I don't think anybody is going to. I mean, it depends on the caliber of woman that you dated. Really, if she's going to walk around and say those things, then obviously she did not respect what you all had, regardless of the size. That is something that should not be discussed at any time, just to try to get back at somebody. And I know he's joking, but I'm just saying that,
No, I'm
it's
and I'm laughing because I've heard that argument before. Like, I was coming out of this restaurant, and I guess a woman had caught the man in there cheating or whatever. So he was like, "Well, what are you so upset about?" She was like, "Because you got chick." Well, she didn't say chicks, but she was like, "You got chicks sitting in your lap. Do you look like Santa Claus to these bitches?" And so, like, all of these arguments that we hear in the general public, that should have waited till they got to the car. Now, it was good for a laugh for me, but like, we don't need to know why they're breaking up. We give out too much information. So with him saying don't tell the world, that one sentence that I hear a lot of women say, like, we supposed to believe that. Why do I need that? But yeah, I'm sorry, just I
but
got
yeah, George
distracted.
Macon. I don't know George Macon. I don't, to choose that to say, has that happened to you?
It happens,
uh,
like, and then I gotta say, some women are probably lying. They just say it, like, don't just go hollering this.
right, 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 right. Oh yeah. I mean, I've heard some crazy things being said after the breakup. That that are just crazy, because see, it's always when you talk bad about somebody that you've been involved with, it
Yeah,
should be a reflection of your choices, right, and your
right,
ability to pick the right mate for you. So if somebody was smart, they would look at her and be like, she's crazy. That's how I
right.
would look at it. um
Now I'm
Yeah.
saying that you see now in this topic, it's not us saying that men can't cry. It's men that are saying that. So they will be more you know, they can answer that for you guys better than I can. But I'm just saying, like, I don't mind it. But men have their reasons for not doing it because, it's their most vulnerable.
Yeah. So, Yusuf, I am just going to say that, well, sounds like you're speaking for women. It sounds like it might be from experience. So, I'm just going to say that not all, not all.
Right. Yeah, not all nations. I normally fit into that anyway. But, so if you are a content creator, I just need to know. I thought I got all of y'all already, but if not, you know. And wait a minute, where is that coming? Miss Gigi. Um, yeah, you just we'll let you in. You're just, you're gonna have to show more Scorpio stuff though. But you're our one of our other water sign counterparts, so we won't give you that hard of a time.
Yeah.
Just a little good natured ribbon, not as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
Gab, Gab is having way too much fun.
Gab is trolling and he doesn't like it when people troll in his chat. So,
Right.
yeah.
So look at this. I hope that like we're not saying like men just walk out of the movie theater just like, and break it down and whatnot. Come on now. Let's see. It's not always about choices. It's just when a woman is hurt and upset, she can say some very mean things at times. Yeah. And sometimes they can make up things. So don't always believe everything that the women say during the breakup. Sometimes they just make up stuff to mess with your head too, to hurt you the way you hurt them. Um,
Yeah, I think, it's a transfer of energy is kind of what I will say in reference to George's comment. Um, we've all done it. I mean, it's
mhm.
not a gender specific. We one may do it more than the other, but I think if we think back to our past, we've probably said some things.
Right.
Um, it's why your mama's ugly or whatever.
Yeah. Yep,
She
I
got
said
one
that.
leg trying to tell B how to walk. But I'm just saying,
Exactly. I mean, you know
uh,
what? When we get grown, they're supposed to leave all of that in the past. But what I'm saying is, it might hurt for a little bit, but don't internalize it. Don't take it to heart. Remember how it was growing up and getting roasted. Yeah, that we taught each other that skill for a reason. It's gonna come in handy. What, now, wait a minute. Now, who's crying if somebody going to Victoria's Secret? Now, y'all see, y'all just doing the most now. I don't know what y'all got going on. Really, Gab, for real? No. So, see, this is why people ban male tears. But okay. So, moving
yeah,
on to the next part of the conversation. Before we invite anybody up, so this section I thought we'd talk about like the toll it takes on a woman to be feminine because there is a trade-off and there's a reason why some women don't choose this lifestyle, right? Some of them don't have the man that is there that is supporting and appreciating. We need to be appreciated. That's our thing. Y'all need to be respected. We need y'all to appreciate us. So there's nobody there that is reinforcing the femininity. It has to come from somewhere. Everything that we do is a learned behavior. Just some things are easier to learn because they're natural. So why do some women choose to not? Well, there are barriers. There needs to be incentives of some kind, and that's what we're talking about, the assistance. So Yusuf had a comment earlier that was related to what all a man should be able to do in order to support a woman. And it had he said it was not a complete list, but it had being able to have enough money and save 10% of income, quality sex, there was resources, things of that nature. But what do all of those things have in common? Class, it has in common the ability to know that things are going to be okay. It's stability. It reduces worry and panic. So what is your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. See, the thing is that when masculinity is performing at an all-time high, then the femininity kicks in, and without any type of masculinity on the female side, um, to be um, injected. So my point is that absolutely that will allow the woman to rest in her feminine nature when she does not have to veer off into that masculine lane of traits and actions that he mentioned.
Right. Exactly. So I guess at this point, do you have anything to add before we see if anybody wants to come up and say their piece or have any questions?
Um, we just have to do better as women, I think.
Right. Right.
I am always trying to check and balance myself. I know I troll a lot in these chats. Um,
Yeah.
some of it is truthful. Some
Yeah.
of it is I'm joking or whatever. But in our daily lives, we have to really really understand that we are human beings, but we also have a responsibility. And responsibility as a woman is to definitely rest in her femininity. It is hard. I know it is hard because I've worked in corporate America where it is dominated by masculinity.
Yes.
And sometimes it is hard for women to take off their masculine, aggressive hat after they leave work and put on that feminine hat to serve her family. And um and that's why I'm kind of a traditionalist, so I do not believe that women should work when they are married and whatever else. I think that their sole purpose and responsibility should be their husband and the children and the dog or cat or whatever.
Right.
um and that allows the balance of the household. Because if both people are operating at a masculine level when they are in corporate America and they come home and one person still has their masculinity on and then the other one is resting in their pure masculine energy, it does not work.
Yeah. Because what do you think the outcome of that is going to be? At some point, the rest only comes when there can only be one.
It
So,
has to be one, because when if you all look up polarity, you know it has to be the opposite, kind of like a yin and yang. It
right.
cannot be two masculine um people trying to have a relationship. When you think about let's see, when you think about the rainbow, the rainbow coalition, I mean, not the rainbow
Oh, yeah.
coalition, but those rainbow people, I mean, even even in their
Alternative
relation,
lifestyles.
yeah, sorry, even in their relationship, there is a
Yeah.
feminine and there's a masculine. So in all relationships, it has to be that. So when he's exerting his feminine side, right? Then you have to turn around and exert masculine energy to a certain extent. See, again, it has to be yin and yang for things to operate like it should when you're talking about energy.
Right. And then if y'all like nature so much and y'all want to talk about instincts, what happens in the animal kingdom when there's only one gender? Well, there's a whole lot of fighting, or either the gender adapts to where half of those men now become, half of those males now become female. So those are the two options that the other species have available. So just, keep that in mind. Can't
So
have two of the same in the same place.
no, you can't. Gab, I guess, said something I hadn't spoken to him in weeks. Well, here's the thing.
Hmm.
Just like I talked about, yin and yang. I mean, have you addressed me?
Hmm. Because
So
technically, y'all are supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. So, but hello, Gab.
Hmm. See, look, this chat is gonna be wholesome. All right, y'all down there getting a little out of control, but it's all right because I don't mind. Anyway, well, is there anyone who would like to come up and say their piece about what it takes to maintain femininity? Any personal stories that you might have or request things, examples that help out the conversation? Because if not, we'll end here. See, I had music planned, but apparently I'm not able to do it at the same time, or I haven't figured out how. So I got some some studying on StreamYard to figure out. But it was
Well,
gonna
there's
be
a
music that set
box.
the mood. There's a box?
Yeah, there's a little box I think that says audio, play audio or something like that.
Okay.
Um yeah, you when when you are you talking about like going using another tab and playing it, or you
You know what? Because it's an app, and so I haven't went to the website in years. So I gotta even see if I still remember my login. So it's a bunch of stuff that I could do in order to
Oh,
fix this.
okay.
I thought that I had it all set up where I would be able to do it in the split screen, but yeah, the tablet was like, nope. And sometimes it be your own tablet. It likes to hate on
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to add is that part of being feminine is maintaining your physical stance, your physique.
you.
So, maintaining your curves and maintaining your skin and all of those things play a part in being feminine as well. I hear a lot of guys talk about, she fat, she fat. The average size for women is 18, that type of conversation. And so,
Yeah.
um, again, it's important to really take care of yourself.
Right. And this is the thing. So while I completely understand and I agree with the fact that there's a lot of things, food, air quality, all kinds of stuff that goes into why that is the new average size, but at the same time we have to fight back. So as women, we would need to want and gravitate towards things that are healthier without all of the steroids and the things that cause that, not contribute to it with certain products that, pollute the air and pollute the water and food. And then as men, we need you guys to storm into the FDA and make them raise the level of things that they are willing to say is safe for consumption. And we have things here that in other countries would not be even allowed in. They do not allow that to happen to the food in their for their citizens. So that would be one example, of how we could reduce the size without arguing and fighting and making people feel, like less than.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know if you've put the link in the chat, or however you are doing it, but
I
um,
can, but I didn't know. Like nobody has mentioned wanting to come up yet, so I'll put it in there, and then you guys click on it. But let me know if you're gonna click on it, so I don't just close out the show and then then you get
yeah.
nothing.
But I just want to say, I really appreciate you allowing me to come on the panel. I do not go on a lot of panels for a number of different reasons, but I definitely am humbled by you asking me to come on the
Uh-huh.
panel. I think that you're very intelligent, and I think that the value that you have added just in this little time being in this space has really helped everybody who has listened to you in some capacity. So I just want to say thank you for
Oh, well, you
you
are
being
definitely
who you
welcome, and
are.
I'm glad that you came through.
Yeah, yeah, and I always rock with Scorpios anyway, but I'm just saying in
Mhm.
addition to that, in addition to that, I do want to say thank you. And you're a breath of fresh air because you are definitely trained in what you do and you speak from the heart, and everybody can actually see that and feel that and receive what it is that you have to offer. So, you know, my suggestion, I know you didn't ask, but just keep doing what you do.
Well, I'll
And
always take it whether I ask or not. All feedback is welcome. And
yeah, don't get I'm not the same, y'all. So please don't even if I didn't ask you, don't tell me. Um, but anyway, I do appreciate you. And I look forward to definitely having more discussions with you. Where'd you go? Damn, just leaving when I'm trying to talk and everything. I don't talk much. Can anybody hear me? My little Houston twang coming out. Can y'all hear me?
okay, so how I accidentally knocked myself out of the stream, but I'm back. Yes.
I don't
So,
know, because I was just a talking and then I saw you just drop off and I'm like,
well, I
damn, I
think they
don't
could
even.
still hear you. Basically, I left you and I had to come back into the broadcast, but you and the chat and everybody was still here. Basically, it's like I just kind of like tripped off of the step, and then everybody else was still left
I
in.
know. It's like, damn, she fell and shit. I don't even talk long.
Yeah, and
But
I don't
go
know
ahead.
how, so we'll see. I'm still learning how to work StreamYard, so
Well, I haven't even touched mine, I don't think. But
we'll
I
see.
need to. So quite naturally, George, fashionably late as he is,
Yep, that's why I
and
highlighted his comment.
and we really appreciate him um, gracing himself with his presence. And but at the same time, we're gonna need you to read.
Yeah, and so what were you contributing to, George? Make it if you didn't know what the topic was, you just in here throwing out comments because you know why? You know what he was in there doing, acting up, being the class clown. But it's all right. See, I see
Yeah, I
you
have
with
to
your
get him
PhD
back
degree.
because like I said, he tried to call me out yesterday. People know that I troll. They know don't pay attention to me. They know not to read my comments. But he went ahead and just you know, KOKaine
Right.
Kellz. So
Oh, he will put your name in the live because I mean, sometimes you don't know if it's good or bad till you finish the sentence. But whatever. See, but I feel like the ball game. What did you learn from watching the ball game, George? Making those like, see, is that where you supposed to be at? Is that what you supposed to be doing?
George, let me go get Jahari for you because I think it's some more teaching that you have to do, just like you did last night with him. Let me go see where he is.
So in that case, hopefully y'all enjoyed the broadcast. And thank you guys. Thank you everybody for coming through, for participating. Leave comments if you are watching the replay. Any questions, any concerns. And we'll go ahead and end here. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, let me know. So, Kellz, any final words?
KOKaine out.
Oh, really? Is that what's her name? What she say the alter ego name was? But okay. Anyway, so bye guys. Have a good day.